You are now listening to the Dad Rules Podcast with your hosts, Mario E. and Kid.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Dad Rules Podcast, where we help you dad better. I'm one of your hosts, Mario E. and Kid. What's going on?
Not much, man. Just coming down the home stretch with this baby, man. So
yeah, man. Yeah, y'all getting excited, right?
Yeah, getting excited. We don't have too much longer to go. So
yeah. All right. You ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into it.
All right. So today's topic is don't throw stones when you live in a glass house. I'm sure we all have probably heard that saying before. So I'll start this one off. So when I first think about don't throw stones when you live in a glass house, I think about people who are just overly critical. They are so critical that they don't even realize that sometimes they're being critical of the things that they do. I know we've all seen that. If you pay attention to, certain things that may go on in social media or just in the world, you'll see so many people nowadays are highly critical of things that they see. And then before you know it, they're going to start criticizing certain things, So, you may see someone make a post about, my baby daddy did this, or my baby mama ain't this, or blah, 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 blah. And then next thing you know, you find out through something else that they may post that very same thing that they're being critical of and trying to tell other people not to do, they're actually doing, And so the first thing that I say as being a dad that, that you need to make sure that you're doing is don't be critical. Don't be so highly critical of someone else in their situation. We all have flaws. We all have things that we can do better in. We all have things that, our children can do better at. So there's no need to be so highly critical of whatever the case may be. It's gotten down to the point where, we've been emboldened and empowered a lot of times to just say whatever it is on our mind, not realizing that, we may have those same flaws and situations going on. And that can be so frustrating, right? But, I think it's important that we raise our kids not to do those types of things. It's so important. There's another saying that, goes, it's, the pot calling the kettle black. It's kind of the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's the first thing. That's the main thing that I think about when I hear that saying. Don't be so highly critical of other people. What do you think about it? What's one of the first things you think about?
First thing I really thought about was like complaining at work. I see a lot of people, and I'm sure you definitely see it in your line of work, but people complain about the decisions that are made by people that may rank higher than them, the superiors at work or whatever the case is. And no matter what level I'm on, I never get caught into that. And sometimes people come to me and they say, well, you probably really don't know what's going on because you kind of stay to yourself, or you kind of stay out the loop. And I say, yeah. And I kind of like that because I don't like to get caught up in all of that noise of rumors and all that stuff, man. It's just, I don't know. I don't feel like it makes your situation better when you complain. It doesn't make you feel better about it. But then at the same time, complaining comes from a lot of people when they don't know the feeling of being in leadership. When you're in leadership, it's a whole lot different because it's hard to make those decisions. They say what the heavy is the crown,
If it's the head, where's the crown?
Yeah. So it's like, man, it's not easy to make decisions.
Yeah.
You make decisions, to better your family. And us fathers, that's why I say that, because we are the leaders of our household, whether we want to assume that role, whether we want to accept that role, whether society wants to accept that. Us fathers are the leaders of the household, period, point blank, you know? And I think as a society, we've gotten so far from that. And you don't know people's story, man.
Yeah.
You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what they're going through. I cannot just every day, like I said, I work in education. Because you see a student or because you see a child that's having an issue or whatever, it's not your job to automatically blame that parent and say that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing or you're not doing the best that you can do. You don't know their situation. You don't know how they were raised. They are doing the best that they can do. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm gonna do the worst. I'm gonna do the worst job for my child. And I want them to be the worst human being of all time. Nobody says that, you know? Granted, not trying to give anybody a pass. Yeah, it's a lot of parents out here that you need to do better. But I'm a firm believer of when you know better, you need to do better. So when you get those opportunities to help other people and to give them advice and to help guide them in the right direction, or, I mean, when people, when people will be receptive of parental advice for them and their kids. And when that door is open, I say, take your opportunity to help somebody. And I think that's what we do a lot here on the Dad Rules podcast, not to say that we're perfect fathers and we've never made mistakes. That's not it. But the mistakes we have made, we learn from those mistakes and move forward. And that's the main, I think that was one of our main purposes, is to build a network of dads and fathers, older brothers, uncles, whatever the case is, we can come together and talk about these issues or our struggles. And there's always going to be somebody there that has been through something similar to what you're going through, and they can help you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, I think you shouldn't be so quick to judge situations. Our kids, your kids and my kids, they're subject to everything out here in this world. They grow up and they make one bad mistake, and then people look at them and they're the talk of the town. That's not fair to you as a parent, and it's really not fair to them, but it happens all the time. And that's one reason that I don't do it, is because, yes, it's their child now, but it could be your child next.
Yeah.
So I feel like, we just got to stay positive, stay prayerful, and, hope and pray that nothing like that ever happens to your kid, or nothing bad ever happens to them that would ruin the rest of their life.
Yeah. You brought up the thing about, people making decisions at work. I've seen so many times, man, especially during these last 2 years, where certain companies make decisions, and, I could sit back and I can say, I disagree with that decision. And man, that's a terrible decision that company made, things like that. Right. Mm-hmm. And then, I can also think about so many times, people will say, why did this leader do that? And why did they do this? And I think to myself, when they say that, is you're not in that leader's shoes. You're not in that person's shoes. You don't know what all the spinning plates they had to deal with, and this situation was going on, and this one was going on over here, that it required a decision, and they made the best decision that they thought was, the right one. And here it is that you're sitting back, you get to play Monday morning quarterback and criticize it, and I think that's so awful, because, a lot of times those people who criticize like that may not ever be in leadership position, and then I will say this, those that desire to be in a leadership position, that when they do make when they do get into that leadership position, they'll realize pretty quick that, wow, this leadership thing is way different than what I thought it was. You know, a lot of times people have this misconception rather, that when you're in leadership, you get to make every decision you want every single time. You don't have to worry about anything or anybody. No, it's not like that, because it's, you know, very, very rarely is it quite like that, you know, unless you work for like some really small company and you're the owner, the CEO, the manager and everything goes through you. But when you work for, you know, like a large company or something like that, there's always people that you might have to run things by, or you make a decision that you just have to kind of make sure you're staying in the confines of the law or these regulations and so on and so forth. And I think a lot of times people are so quick to criticize and quick to judge that they don't realize that all the decisions that have to get made. You know, I can remember one time as I'm not going to say the company that I was working for, but I remember, you know, kind of sitting back thinking like, why is this manager doing this? Why is he doing that? And then once I got into a leadership position, I realized how much, I don't want to say stress, but how critical it is being in a leadership role on your job, and all the little small things that come into that. And, you know, it's just kind of like, man, you know, that guy that, you know, I was somewhat critical of making those decisions, I had no idea the things that he was probably having to deal with, you know, this going on over here. Then you got to try to make these folks over here feel good about the decision and so on and so forth. That, man, leadership isn't easy, man. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it, but everybody feel like it's easy. That's why they always got to comment on it, right?
Right.
But yeah, and so that just made me kind of think about that when you brought up the work situation, you know. And I also think about how many times, you know, I've seen parents and fathers, please don't be this type of father. Mothers, if you're listening, don't be this type, you know, where you see how someone else is raising their kid, right? And you gonna sit back and say, they better than me. I sure wouldn't let my little Jimmy do this, or, you know, little Johnny do that, you know.
Yeah.
But yet your little Jimmy, little Johnny's doing something maybe even worse than that, you know. Yeah. Come on, like, really, you know, just relax. You know, do the best you can. Don't be so highly critical of other people. You know, give that person some help, give them some advice when you can. And but you don't have to be so highly critical that, you know, you're throwing people all under the bus and, you know, trying to make yourself feel better by criticizing someone else. That's unnecessary.
Yeah. I definitely feel like I feel like that happens a lot in families and stuff. And it's like, I think sometimes I cannot stand it when I hear a mother talk about the father of her children or whatever, and she can't bring up anything good about him. And most of the time, when we take a closer look, it's two sides to that story.
Yeah.
And people, they do their best to try and make people look bad and make them just look terrible and try and put themselves up and put the other person down. And then when you really look at the full picture of it, you're like, you just as bad as him. and don't talk bad about the other parent to the children. I can't stand that. You let that father parent the way he wants to parent. Let that mother parent the way they want to parent. Don't try and control that and change them or whatever. If you think he should be picking up his kid more, I mean, it's okay to suggest it or whatever. But if he coming by once a week and you feel like that's not enough, be thankful that he coming by once a week. If he come away twice a week, be thankful. Whenever he comes, be thankful when he comes. Make him feel good about coming and let him know that you really appreciate that. Because putting negativity into the situation is not going to make him become a better father. Be positive about it. You know, I really appreciated you doing that today. You really helped me out. And little Johnny, he really enjoyed spending time with you. He was so excited when he got back. My man didn't buy his child a toy. He bought one toy the whole year. But man, he was so excited when you bought him that. Instead of saying, then you're gonna bring this little toy over here and think you doing something. You know what I'm saying? You know I'm not lying. That's how it is. It's like my man bought one toy, and he might have been, in his mind, he could have been thinking, well, I know I haven't been doing right, but I'm gonna change this year. And then, you know, January 1, he went and took his son to the toy store and bought him a toy. And they said, well, we ain't heard from you all year. You know, now you want to go get this little $5 toy and think you're doing something. Now he go like, man, see, that's why I don't even come. Because you always come. Man, and if she had just changed the words that she said and said, you know, I really appreciate you taking him over there to Target. He plays with that toy every day. He just loves it. He can't wait till you come back and get him. You know, so just let me know when you want to come by and get him again. Maybe y'all can go out to eat or something. You know what I'm saying? That's all it take, man. And then he like, it's not that you're trying to get back with him or anything like that, but just being positive about it.
Yeah.
You know? And I've talked to fathers too, man, and they're keeping their kids themselves. They're single fathers trying to raise kids and, you know, trying to work with the mother, and the mother's going through things and stuff like that. And it's like, man, just take what you can take, you know, work with people on their own pace. Because at the end of the day, man, that's who you decided to make a life with. And we're all adults here. There ain't no mistakes. You know what you got into.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know the consequences of that. So
yep.
You got anything else?
No, I don't.
All right. Well, we thank you guys for listening to the Dad Roots podcast with Mario E and Kid. And we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Dad Rules podcast with your host, Mario E and Kid. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, follow and like us on Facebook and Instagram. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Breaker, and Player FM. Till next time.